you slide slowly over time,
That's
where you
fair.
start to justify like, oh, it's just thoughts, it's not actions. And then it's like, oh, it's just little flirty behavior. It's not anything serious. And then it's just kind of a slippery slope sort of
Yeah.
deal. And so
Which is
prevent that from even occurring. Hey, 1 Degree fam, I'm Nathaniel.
And I'm Zan, and this is the 1 Degree Podcast, where we talk about what it looks like to be married as followers of Jesus.
Look, we know that life gets full. Marriage, kids, work, church, sports, the list goes on and on. But we believe that a thriving marriage does not happen by accident.
Each episode will give you real conversations, practical tools, and biblical encouragement to help you connect deeply with your spouse and live on mission together.
So, whether you're folding laundry, driving to work, or maybe even working out, we're glad you're here with us.
Let's dive in.
what is up, 1 Degree fam?
What is up, fam? Welcome back to the comfy, cozy, virtual leather couch. So happy that you are here with us here today. And we're going to kick it off with something that we haven't done in a while. That's right. It's time for Silly Stories with Sibley.
With Siblies.
Siblies.
Okay, this one is inspired by current events in the Sibley household. Recent was redundant. Yes, I acknowledge that. Emery, our 6-year-old, lost her first tooth. It had been hanging on for like 3 months. No joke. She went to the dentist a couple months ago and they're like, oh, you have a wiggly tooth. I'm like, yeah, surely it'll fall out in the next 24 hours. Crazy. Anyway, lost it finally on Saturday morning, I think it was.
Yes.
And, the tooth fairy, like, is the tooth fairy coming? We have straight up said, if you have young listeners and you care, turn off your episode. That's your warning here. But we have straight up said the tooth fairy is not real. We don't do Santa. We don't pretend.
Oh.
We don't pretend that any figures that are not real are real.
Yes.
Just our parenting.
And our kids try to gaslight us.
Well,
they, especially with Santa Claus.
It's like their personal mission.
Yes. They'll be like, no, Santa gave us that gift. You didn't give us that gift. Santa gave it to us.
They know they're trolling us,
yes.
though. Like, their look. So they have their, like, mischievous, like... Yeah. And then, so, same thing with the tooth fairy. She's like, no, the tooth fairy is real. The tooth fairy's coming, whatever.
So Never thought I'd be gaslit by a 6-year-old.
I don't know is it gaslighting or just trolling?
Maybe both. I don't know.
But anyway, so that's really the whole story. But it inspired us thinking about, like, oh, what did we do when we were young with the tooth fairy? And I was like, well, I remember for my first tooth, I want to say it was probably my first tooth because it was in kindergarten. I got a silver dollar from my parents, the tooth fairies, and I had a satin pink square pouch with a little buckle on it that I put that silver dollar in to take it to school. I'm pretty sure I brought it. We had 0 the hero day, and it was on the 100th day of school. Like, we would always it was like how we learned the 1s, 10s, 100s places. Like, we would keep track of, like, what day of the year. Anyway, on 0 the hero day, I brought it because I was like, it's $1, it's 100 cents. And I lost it at some point during the year. Yeah, that checks out. Because I was like, I remember it was like wintertime because I think I had it in a coat pocket.
And you were in first grade, and this is a K through 8
Kindergarten,
right?
And a K through 12.
K through 12.
Pre-K through 12.
Yes.
And anyway, long story short, it's not short. I lost it and I was very upset about it, and I made posters at home on, like, Microsoft Paint, and I printed them out and I put them all over the school. Lost silver dollar. I also was very convinced that this kid that was in first grade, and it sounds so weird, I'm like, I don't know what I ever had against this kid, and I actually don't. Maybe actually then his name did just come to me, but I remember his face for sure is what I was about to say. I don't know why I didn't like him. I don't think we ever had any interactions. In my mind, he was just the bully. And I think I told the principal that he stole it. It's all a little blurry on that front, but I know I put up posters around the school. And I'm pretty sure, like, my parents, my mom probably had to help. And it's just really funny looking back on that.
I'm just picturing a senior, like, seeing a poster that
that's why he included that detail.
Yes.
Honestly, it was probably funny. Like,
yes.
They probably were like, this is wholesome or just, like, silly.
But you telling that about the principal reminds me of the time when I was in second grade and I hit a kid's notebook And then like everyone was looking for it. And I was smart enough as a second grader, mischievous enough. I don't know if smart's the right word there, but to wait like 5 minutes, be looking around. And then I'm the one who found it. And then the teacher
Diabolical.
questioned everyone individually about who took the notebook. And I said that I wasn't for sure, but I listed the 2 names of like the 2 people that were most often the bullies and most often getting in trouble. And so I was like, I think it may have been one of them. I saw them around this person's desk when they had their notebook on it.
Honestly, like thinking about that, how crazy. Just
As
to
a
have the
second
no,
grade.
not
Oh.
you. Just like the teacher like interviewing the kids. Like, if I'm a teacher, I'm just letting that slide. Like, oh cool, the notebook's back. We're not getting to the bottom of that. That is crazy.
I'm just thinking of like, man, I was an evil little second grader.
It's funny in the silver dollar story to return to that because that is 100% something Emery would do.
Oh yeah, for
She
sure.
is like, it's kind of like watching myself grow up again. Just the way she
Yeah.
acts. Like she's so, yeah, she's a little Zan. For better
And
or
the little
worse.
hiding the planner would probably be something Verity would do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so crazy how that works genetically. Anyway, okay. That is not at all what we're talking about today. We're actually talking about something entirely different in
Yes.
every way. We can't even tie. This could tie back to last week's episode on like little kids or something, but no,
Yeah.
there's no
No
connection there.
tie.
We're just talking about whether or not we follow the Billy Graham rule. Nathaniel, define the Billy Graham rule.
The Billy Graham rule. So this is
I didn't know about this until he was in seminary, and this was like a
Yeah, this is more common, especially among like evangelical leaders or just within evangelical circles. First of all, just this idea of the Billy Graham rule. Like if you Googled it, it would come up. But it's typically referring in the case of men having this rule that if you are a married man.
It's probably not just men.
No, I know, but typically the context.
Okay.
I want to give the context of
Okay.
it. Typically, when people are talking about the Billy Graham rule, it's typically in the context of a married man making this rule that he will not spend any time alone with a member of the opposite sex that is not his wife. And so just this idea of like anytime one-on-one, alone with someone of the opposite sex, like that's just not going to be something that you do, and you are going to
So you
avoid it
could
at
just
all
say
costs.
females,
Yes,
women.
females. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But why I say opposite sex is because obviously this has been taken by different people as well, and so some couples, married couples, have it, and it's like both like you would not spend any
Oh, yeah, you're
time
saying
alone with-
generalized, just
yeah,
anyone.
it's generalized to anyone, but
Men,
typically when it's, especially when I was in seminary, right, it was in the context of like a lot of guys talking about how they would never spend time alone one-on-one with someone like a female that's not their wife, sort of deal. And so we're talking about, okay, is this wise? Is this something that we do? Is it something we don't do? Why or why not? All of that kind of stuff. So drum roll, no drum roll. But just to get it out of the way right away, this is not something that we follow. So we're going to kind of give the...
I want to give a million caveats.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds alarming.
No, but I'm saying it's not like something we pursue, that you pursue being alone with other guys.
Well, yeah,
and
it's
that
also
I pursue
like
being
I never
alone
think
with
about
other
like,
girls.
oh no, we don't subscribe to that at all. It's
Yeah.
just like that's not something that's like a forefront of our conversations. So
Yeah.
make sure this never happens.
And I think that there is some wisdom to this rule.
There is a lot of
and
wisdom.
adhering and following it and everything like that.
Yeah, if there's a spectrum of like Billy Graham rule to like totally permissible, I would fall far more towards the Billy Graham rule. Like,
yeah,
I don't know that I've been alone with a man ever besides you. Like, I don't know that I've ever.
Oh
had
yeah,
a
there's been
context.
times for sure.
I mean, like in a private room. Like I'll like talk to somebody in a group, like at church,
Yeah, no, I get what you're
one-on-one,
saying.
but I don't know that I can't think of a time. Like even at work, in work context, it's like okay, virtually,
Yeah.
maybe that counts.
Yeah.
And even still, I don't really think of that very often.
No, for sure. But okay, so we're going to talk about why we don't like adhere to this rule. Like, okay, it's a seemingly good rule. Why would you not adhere to
When
it
the
or have
plumber
that?
is here.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, has there ever been?
Well,
But that I feel
Other times
uncomfortable
like
the
that.
entire time. That's the thing about me. Okay. go
and
on.
then we're going to give like, if you fall on the opposite end of like, oh, Billy Graham rule, we don't like it, we don't adhere to it for some reason, we fall more on the permissible side of things, we're going to give like a word of warning or caution for those who like wouldn't necessarily follow the quote unquote Billy Graham rule. And so let's take it away. Why do we not adhere to this rule?
Yeah. Again, it's not that we don't agree with it. We just don't necessarily strictly follow it. And I would say mostly because of the impracticalities of it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I would just think, like, in your seminary context, for instance, you don't really have to leave anywhere, but it would be like, okay, you have a female coworker and it's like, you gotta drive to lunch. You're not gonna buy the Billy Graham rule.
Yeah.
You could not drive your coworker to lunch.
Yeah.
Even though again, maybe that is good. Like, that is more good than bad to have
Yeah.
that rule.
Yeah.
But I remember you saying, like, okay, so somebody, like, is broken down the side of the road, or, like, you are the only person that somebody can call for something. And it's like, well, technically that would be, like, you can't do that.
Yes.
And we're not gonna just throw out the, like, worst case scenario of, like, oh my gosh, your neighbor is a woman and she needs resuscitating and I can't go in there. Obviously,
Yeah.
like, we're not going that far, but, like, something like that, I mean, that would have been a really realistic scenario for you.
Yeah, for sure.
It
And
probably
well,
actually happened.
yeah, and even now is like a couple of things. So number one, I want to address, we didn't really address the why behind the Billy Graham
sorry.
rule of
Well,
like,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
that's
like
fair.
why is this a
I guess I
thing?
think it's assumed. But
And I just want to highlight this really quick, 30 seconds. We live in a very hyper sexualized context in Western cultural, and I think so sexualized that there are so many things that we don't even think of that are sexual in nature that, like,
Can you
we
give
don't
an
give a second.
example?
For example, like cheerleaders in NFL games wearing very
Absolutely think about
provocative,
that.
but I'm saying it's like, oh, they show cheerleaders on TV. Like, you
Oh.
are so used to that, you
That's
don't
fair.
even think of it, as like, oh, this is like
Yeah.
very sexualizing, and everything like that. It's just because it's so prominent. Any sort of advertising, all of that kind of stuff. Like, we've become numb to the sexual nature of our culture.
Yeah.
So in a hypersexualized culture, there have been so many times evangelical leaders and just regular Christians alike that have fallen into affairs or have had affairs, and people that
To one degree or another.
yeah.
Yeah, not always even a full out.
Yeah, but emotional affairs, physical affairs, just affairs. And this rule is a way to like prevent that opportunity from even happening.
Yeah, I would say even prevent the temptation.
The temptation of that even happening. So that's the whole process of like, because, and here's the thing, people who would adhere to this would say, like, look, Jesus has very serious words when it comes to fighting sin. He says, if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. And so this idea of, oh yeah, maybe it's a little bit awkward to say, like, oh, I'm not going to be alone one-on-one with a member of the opposite sex. But it's like, well, if I'm going to take Jesus' words seriously of fighting sin, then this is something that I want to do and I want to pursue.
For sure.
Which
is why I would say, like, I think it is a good rule.
Yeah.
It's just that we are not dogmatic
about it.
I would say in general we do.
Yeah.
It's just not like, I guess dogmatic is the way to put it. So,
exactly. And so Zan kind of highlighted the first, just some impracticalities of it. I even think like in my work, my
you have
boss,
one-on-ones.
Yeah, my boss is a woman and we have one-on-ones
and you have
together.
direct reports who are women.
Yes,
and
that I'll have one-on-one meetings with.
Yeah, and I would assume those are probably in your own, like, private room, right?
Yeah, and well, one-on-one is in my boss's office, and then like the one-on-one with my direct reports typically will have like a conference room or an office or whatever.
Yeah, and so I think that same. I could have a private meeting virtually with my work, or I don't know. It doesn't again come up that much in our life, but again, going back to what you were saying of the roots of why it's there and that taking that sin seriously and cutting it off, I think if it ever were an issue of like, that's where the accountability piece in your life comes in, and just awareness and like the personal discipline of fighting sin. It's like if there were ever some kind of temptation, then you would take more. Yeah,
and you need to. But a lot of times, and that's what people who would say, like, okay, we're advocates of the Billy Graham rule because you just like, you slide slowly over time.
That's
where you
fair.
start to justify like, oh, it's just thoughts, it's not actions. And then it's like, oh, it's just little flirty behavior, it's not anything serious. And then it's just kind of a slippery slope sort of deal. And so prevent that from even occurring.
Again, is you could follow the Billy Graham rule, or it's not really an or, but like there's also a safeguard for that is the having like a weekly accountability or something where you are continually like confessing whether you've had those thoughts or anything like that.
Which we'll kind of get to in a
Sorry,
second.
I'm getting ahead. I'm
No, it's great.
ad-libbing. I'm not going by the notes.
No, So I would say impractical. Another thing, and I think this is important to call out, this isn't a reason not to follow the Billy Graham rule, but I think it is important to note is that given the context, I think oftentimes when the Billy Graham rule is discussed, it can often especially make women out to be
Yeah.
like temptresses or people that are just looking to cause men to
Homewreckers.
stumble into
Yeah.
affairs or whatever it may be. Yeah, like you said, homewreckers and all of that kind of stuff. And I think that, it fundamentally can treat women more so as objects of lust or sources of temptations rather than individuals who are created in the image of God. And we often hear about this idea of like, oh, or I feel like it's more prevalent of, hey, women are not supposed to cause men to stumble, but very rarely do we hear the opposite
Men,
side of
yeah.
that, men not causing women to stumble.
Yeah,
And so,
you saying that, it's also I mean, I can't really I'm fleshing it out live in my brain, but it's just that it's true. It's like we have hypersexualized women and just society, but yeah, people in general to the point where it's like being in the same room as somebody of the opposite gender only does automatically feel like it should have this sexual charge to it.
yeah,
When it's like, it could just simply be two people made in the image of God having a conversation. Like, that doesn't have to be inherently. And I get all the caveats of like, but it could. And it's like, we're wired for that. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's true. It's just
yeah,
like we've added so much of that with society.
yeah. I think another reason why we don't is that following this rule can often prevent you or make it more difficult to do ministry. And so we kind of gave the example of,
Mm.
if, a neighbor is, dying or something like that and you need to resuscitate them. But like there are true examples of, hey, there's someone that that's someone of the opposite gender that needs a ride to the airport or that,
Or I'm thinking even like we have a friend group of couples and it's like,
yeah,
okay, somebody is home alone and needs help and somebody of the opposite gender is the only one that's available to help them right now.
yeah,
Like, would you say that that's wrong? No,
no,
we
yeah.
wouldn't, but like you could if you I mean,
Hmm.
you would if you were adhering dogmatically to the Billy Graham rule.
And I think that there are times that if you are a pastor or someone in ministry,
Yeah.
if you are doing marriage counseling, there are times that you meet with each of the couple members individually, and that's especially important in very more so difficult marriages because that's a time where you can screen for abuse.
Mm,
And so I just think about this idea of like, okay, if you're going to
mm,
follow this and adhere to this, like and, "Oh, I'm only gonna ever meet with the couple, and I'm never gonna
mm,
meet with the woman
that's true.
individually," that is possibly preventing you from becoming aware of a lot more, serious natures of abuse behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think I mean, if we were to end the episode now and just sum it up or like just give one point, I think it all comes down to it's the heart posture more so than the
Yes.
like logistical
Yep.
outside.
Outside of it. Yeah.
Their perceptions matter. That's something we talked a
Yes,
lot
for
about in
sure.
seminary too. You also don't wanna even if everything is pure and everything is like the
Mhm.
heart postures are all good, but you're constantly alone with somebody, like we've had like the perception does matter. Like
Yeah.
you don't wanna cause somebody to stumble in their perceptions of like, "Oh, this is okay," or, "Oh."
I remember even when we were in college,
I
there
know,
was a
I
ministry
wasn't gonna go
leader
into it.
that
I thought
was
about it.
constantly and it was like there was always in the back of your mind, like, "Huh,"
Is there
like
something happening there? Because you
yes.
would see them like alone in a coffee shop and I was like, "Okay, sure, they're both in ministry
Mhm.
leading capacities," but it's like, is that crossing a line as far as like perception goes,
Yes.
even if it is innocent? And so I hate that sometimes, like, I get in not specifically in this context, but, like, worrying about perception being, perception being the driver of how you make a decision bothers me kind of
Yeah,
fundamentally,
I get what you're
but then
saying.
I'm also like, "But it is important," and I get it. I get why you have to have that be the case, so,
Yeah.
anyway.
Another reason, and this is kind of tied up with the ministry piece of thing, but why you wouldn't necessarily be dogmatic about this rule is that Jesus himself didn't follow this rule. If you look at the story of Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well, Jesus and the woman at the well, like Jesus was alone with her and broke so many cultural norms of, a Jew talking with a Samaritan, and then also to a man talking to a woman, and also being alone with someone
Yeah,
that wasn't your spouse. And so there were so many cultural barriers that Jesus broke in that. And I think it's important to see that, Jesus himself wasn't dogmatic. So if you're dogmatic to the level that, oh, this is a rule that every married couple should follow. And if you don't, you are exposing yourself to sin. Then you have to
Or even
recognize that.
sinning inherently by not
Yes,
following it.
exactly. Like Jesus himself didn't follow this rule. So I think that is an important to note. And then the last thing I would say for, why you don't necessarily follow this rule is that following the Billy Graham rule, while starting with good intentions, could potentially lead to a false sense of security.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is a reason that we don't follow it. I would say this
Yes,
is more a
a
warning for
beware.
those who do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives a false sense of security because it's like, oh, I'm never going to be alone with, a woman, or I'm never going to be alone with a man. You start to not fight lustful thoughts and lustful tendencies as hard because you think that you may never be able to have the opportunity to even give into them. And so it gives this false sense of security of like, oh, I've created this rule. I could never have an affair because of this Billy Graham rule that I'm following. And I think whenever you get to the point that, oh, this could never happen to me, or I could never do this, I think you're in a very dangerous place because scripture makes clear of like, be on guard, be alert, because your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour.
To play devil's advocate, though, if you simply always follow it and you're never virtually and in person, you couldn't.
Well,
Unless you're
yes.
doing it in a group setting, like unless you're having an affair in a group setting.
No, but also too, it's like, okay, so you are always following it 100%, and then some circumstance that's outside of your control, like, oh, you are all of a sudden thrown into a situation like that.
Yeah.
And
I guess then you're breaking your rule.
Yeah, exactly. By doing
I would
it, for
say
sure.
more what I would say in that line of the false sense of security is that, again, that heart posture of like, you could be following it on the outside, but the heart posture, you could be lusting internally. And so that would be more of my warning of like, it's not a foolproof method to avoid sin because you could be lusting even without talking to somebody. I mean, you can lust on a Facebook profile if you know. So yeah, I would just say be on guard in that respect.
That's a good call out. So now I'm kind of turning the tables really quickly as we wrap up this episode. Some words of warning or words of caution to those who don't or aren't dogmatic about following the Billy Graham rule, or don't even think about it, don't do it, all of those kind of things. And I think I would start off with kind of that same warning of this idea of you need to be on guard, because you don't need to be on guard because, women are temptresses. You need to be on guard is because we are still have a sin nature, and we still have to fight sinful tendencies that are within us. And so I would say that, there have been much greater people, much holier people than I am that have had affairs. And there are lots of people that, that I even know of that's like, oh man, I can't believe this person had an affair, or, whatever it may be. And so I think that you need to have this mentality of fighting sin, like be killing sin before sin kills you. And I think that...
Isn't that a Piper quote?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And he might have quoted it from someone else.
Yeah.
But I think that, affairs don't just happen one day. Like you don't go from, unless you're looking for it, like, I just met someone today and it turned into a full-blown affair tonight. Like typically they're going to happen gradually over time, especially if you're married. And again, it goes with like lustful thoughts that go unconfessed and unchecked, turning into like mildly flirty behavior that progresses into more. Like that's typically how affairs happen. And so like if you are not on guard and alert because of your own sinful tendencies, then I think that you can be in a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
I think number 2 with that is that you need to have honest conversations with your spouse, and you need to confess sin regularly to your spouse.
Interesting that you say that. I mean, in the sense that I feel like that's something that you have said in the conversations that we've had on the podcast, even about accountability, that like sometimes those are the things that are for accountability only versus just your spouse.
Well, yeah. So, okay, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up because I want to break that down, right? you should have honest conversations with your spouse of like what reaches the level of needing confession. And you need to do that beforehand, right? Like, okay, is any time that Zan looks at another dude and is like, oh, wow, he's really hot. Like, do I need
Never see
Zan to
other
tell me
dudes.
that? But I'm just saying, do I need
Yeah.
Zan to tell me that? It's like, no, like, you know, just like
I wouldn't want to know that, oh, you're at the gym and you looked at some girl's butt. It's like, I don't need to know about that every time.
yeah, but like anytime, and for us, it's like, okay, if this has turned into lustful ideation or any sort of physical, like flirting or anything like that, at that level for us that's where it needs to be confessed.
Ideation or manifestation.
Yep, ideation or manifestation. And so you need to have an open and honest conversation with your spouse of like, where is that threshold? What is the line? Because those other things, like, I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm talking in circles a little bit, but that example that Zan just gave of like, oh, if I'm at the gym and I look at someone's butt, like I have people that I meet with every Saturday morning where we talk about accountability. And that is the time that I would confess something like that happening, you know, where it's just like, we ask each other the nitty gritty questions and we are confessing our sin to one another, even at like the first level of sin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And these, like, what I really appreciate is that you might hear accountability and like, does it actually work? We talk about things and struggles and issues that I think most people would be like, I can't believe you talk about that, or I can't believe you confess that, or I can't believe that this is actually something that you do with other guys, just because it is, yeah, I don't know. It's just all what you make it. Yeah, it's very countercultural.
Yeah.
Like in our accountability, we have a question that says, have you been exposed to sexually alluring material or allowed your mind to entertain inappropriate thoughts about someone who is not your spouse this week? And that's a question that we answer every single week. And that kind of gets to like, that's a holistic view on lust, you know, or, you know, it's not just like, oh, did you watch porn, or, oh, did you, you know,
yeah,
whatever.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else you would add? Any other questions? That was good. I'm glad you brought that up like that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like this answers the question. You know whether or not we follow it. You know why. Again, I would want to sandwich this episode with, like I said in the beginning, if I'm on the spectrum, I think that I lean more towards it is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have more reasons to not follow it than I have for following it. We are just not dogmatically holding to it for all the reasons listed above.
Yeah.
But
1 degree shift. If you are married and you have any unconfessed sin, especially sexual sin of like, oh, you know, the number one that comes to mind is pornography, but even just like, oh, lustful ideation, whatever it may be. Like if you have unconfessed sin that you need to confess it to both God and to your spouse. And I'll tell you right up front is that it's going to be incredibly difficult, but it's going to be incredibly fruitful in the long run. And that's how you build trust. That's how you build accountability. That's how you, it's really, really hard. And I've walked through it with guys that have gone through that really difficult journey. But everyone that I've known that like follows the process, that confesses the sin, that works to rebuild that trust and to build a stronger relationship has ended up with a much stronger marriage than had they kept that sin private.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
All right.
All right.
Love you, 1 degree fam.
Catch you next week.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of the 1 Degree Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd be so appreciative if you take just a few seconds to leave a rating and a quick review. We love to hear your feedback, and those ratings really do help make it easier for others to find this podcast.
And if you want to continue this chat or share your takeaways, we'd love to hear from you. Head on over to our Instagram at the 1 Degree Podcast and leave a comment or send us a DM. We can't wait to hear from you. Catch you next week, 1 Degree fam.